I'd like to talk a bit about Mars, a little bit about our process mining COE. We call ourselves the Process Intelligence Hub, and a little bit about our journey, not just within process mining, but the theme of today around taking insights into automated action. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about a recent project that we kicked off, kind of showcasing this, the power of passing off Celonis insights directly into automation for an actual internal stakeholder that we're working with right now. First, please humor me a little bit of advertising for my company. So most of you probably know us for our candy and confectionery products, M&Ms, Skittles. A lot of you, maybe a smaller group, may know us for our pet care products as well, so pet food products like IAMS. One thing I do want to highlight as well is we've really been expanding our pet care segment with recent acquisitions over the past 5 years and a lot of investment into the space. Mars is now they run the largest network of veterinary clinics and hospitals, one of the largest in the world today. Over 2,500 veterinary hospitals, or almost 500 sites. So it's gone way beyond the first few chocolates that were made 100 years ago. And I'd like to just level set on this slide because we've almost become a conglomerate of different brands, right? And it's good for me because I get to have a lot of interesting conversations with different verticals, different functions. And for process mining and automation, it can be applied across the board, right? So just a little level set. Again, been in business for over 100 years, about 35 billion in sales, and over 125,000 associates. I think this slide's actually a little outdated. I think we've crossed the 130, 140 mark recently. So a little bit about our hub. So again, I lead the Process Intelligence Hub. We're essentially a COE for Celonis and task mining as well. For those of you that work within automation COEs or at least work with them, a lot of this should not be too foreign, but again, the formation of this group, we're very new. We were formed this year on the heels of the success of our automation COE called our Intelligent Automation Hub, and I have a few cheerleaders from our team on the Automation Hub in attendance here. Thank you for coming. They're actually going to be presenting some work from the automation side, more specifically, I think around 3 o'clock, so I highly implore you all to please attend and give them some support. But again, this group was formed at the beginning of this year to really formalize a function around process mining and task mining so that, and really my goal is to make this something that's easy to consume and easy to scale, right? So things like developing a core strategy, things about design standards, coming up with a deployment and design playbook. Key one for us is managing our vendor partnerships, right? So we have a small internal team, it's a team of 4 of us, but we have a much broader team among our Celonis partners, as well as our service provider partners who are dealing with development and all the testing and the deployment of all these Celonis dashboards. So much broader support team beyond our internal team. But again, all of this is here so that we can show our business segments and our functions, all of our stakeholders, that we have a model that can scale. If we find demand, we can quickly build a team to go, hey, let's go build this up, deploy it quickly, and show them that we have a support model to actually keep it healthy, right? Keep it running. So again, a lot of this is really table stakes for any COE that's standing up a new technology at a firm. But again, we're using the model that's been shown to be successful on the Automation Hub side for process mining. And then really the point of this presentation is showing how these two hubs can really work together, right? I have a lot of conversations around order to cash, purchase to pay, end-to-end process, and really how we can derive insights and have conversations on what can we transform, what bottlenecks can we find, where can we start to map out deviations from standard process. But very quickly, that conversation goes back to automation. I actually got my start in the automation COE world before I joined the process mining conversation about a year ago, but I keep getting dragged back in because for me, I can't be someone who's saying, I'm just going to sell you another fancy dashboard, right? No one needs another dashboard. We have Power BI at Mars. We have a bunch of other data analytics tools and dashboards. The way we position this is we expose novel process data and process insights to, yes, inform decision-making, but hopefully to provoke automated actions to take place, right? This is really the theme of today, insights to action. And that's where I really start to see the light bulbs go off when we're talking to our stakeholders, right? Not just to show them, hey, look at this. Did you know that you're wasting 2 days worth of time waiting for this delivery block to be released? And that's affecting our overall cycle time to deliver. It's delaying finance from billing, it's working capital impact. That's great, but what can we do about it? And I can't just say, well, sorry, that's not my job. we need to form a tighter partnership with our automation team. That's what we've really been doing this past year. So a little bit about this. Again, process mining and task mining, as Sana and James have already highlighted, it really helps us to focus our attention and fish where the fish are, right? We have a whole stream of automation demand, as an example, where people knock on our door to our automation team and say, hey, we have ideas for what we can automate. We have a lot of our associates spending time doing this. Can you help us kind of relieve this effort so we can focus on the work that matters? And that stream has been great. We've been getting a lot of ideas. If you attended the morning session, you heard Adil talk a bit about how we got started, some of those process heat maps to kind of showcase where we can start. But as we go now, we're deploying process mining and task mining across really almost every function now and almost every single segment, starting within the US, into Europe, hopefully Asia Pacific soon. And it's really giving us another lens into where we can target next, right? So now essentially what we're doing is we're establishing a parallel stream of automation demand generation to say, let's cast a wide net and let the data speak for itself. And what we're seeing now is a lot of surprise coming. Oh, I had no idea that we were doing work this way. That first slide that I think, James, you showed, where how our processes are designed, how we think they're run, and then the reality. That reality, I love showing that process explorer explosion because it always opens up everyone's eyes, and they have no idea. They almost don't believe it until we dig into the details and prove it to them. But again, a great way for us to focus our attention and make sure we're fixing something that is a real problem, and also fixing something that has a material impact down the line, right? It's really helping. One aspect I want to highlight here is using process mining and task mining up front to kind of show where we should target our transformation efforts has really helped us to quantify what the downstream impact truly is, beyond the productivity and the hour savings, right? The example I'll talk about in a second, think about not just, hey, we're going to automate and free up 10 hours of work. Think about what that does from a speed and cycle time perspective. What does that mean for all of the downstream teams that rely on that work to be finished before they can pick up their work? What does that mean for the customer experience down the line? Because we can map end to end, we can tell that whole story so that the value of a single automation is not just a few hours. You can tell the story of that downstream impact 10, 15, 20 steps down the line. And that's very important because it really justifies a transformation effort. It justifies the change, and it really rallies support to help a stakeholder who maybe is on the line to say, yes, green light, let's go do this. And then, Sana, you already said this before. You stole my phrase, straight through processing. That's our goal, right? When we're deploying process mining, the first step, before we start to automate immediately, we will expose these insights to our stakeholders, and they want to be that human in the loop. They want to consume that information, make the decision, be comfortable that it works. But as they get more comfortable, we start to say, well, some of your decision making is somewhat repetitive. Can we codify this logic into our action flows, right? Either kick off triggered alerts, run certain workflows, in this case, passing off to Automation Anywhere, right? So they can start to carve off and really start their thinking and decision making on the Celonis platform and start to codify all those repetitive actions so they can really start to focus on those true exceptions where really judgment and decision making has to be in the hands of a human, right? So it's been very powerful there. And then lastly, time to value. I just want to highlight this thing. So when you're automating, right, you can kind of go front end, some of the traditional legacy RPA from the core Automation Anywhere platform, or you can go back end, and you saw this morning, the platform is much expanded now. You can have API calls, remote function calls. But I do want to just highlight on the kind of the core build that really got Automation Anywhere started on this front end UI automation, right? We have this amazing capability in here with our Intelligent Automation Hub at Mars, where sometimes we're trying to unlock back-end integrations so that we can write back into SAP as an example. But that's a hard battle to fight. You're changing process, you're bypassing controls. We're having, right now, I'm sure I have emails that I'm not checking because we're at this conference, but we're fighting battles with enterprise architecture, global financial controls, SAP security, you name it, because we're bypassing what the current process looks like. Right? And this is not news to anybody, but the beauty of passing off to an Automation Anywhere bot is we're not changing the process. We're actually even accessing the system the same way a human would. And that just gets rid of all of those obstacles. So the time to value to say, hey, we'll eventually unlock that API capability. We'll write back, but in the meantime, let's build a bot so you can have value right now, right? There's no obstacle right there. That's a real example of what we're actually dealing with right now for a key project within pet nutrition. So lastly, I want to talk about an example, right, to make this a bit real. So this is a project we actually just kicked off a few weeks back. So this is in flight right now. Within our European segment, it's one of our business segments across the pond. So picture order to cash, really order to invoice. So everything from order intake to the order management, fulfillment, really all the supply chain outbound processes that occur before finance takes over. So we ran a proof of concept with them over the summer. It was kind of not very targeted. Let's say, hey, let's feed in order to cash data and see what it tells us. And we found this whole issue around delivery blocks and credit holds. I know you mentioned credit holds before, Sana. It's a huge issue. We see this across almost every segment. No matter who we talk to, whatever region, we have all these issues around orders that get held up for a lot of the times no good reason at all, right? Whether that's bad policy or we're just understaffed because people have to go into the systems, make sure that the block is there for a reason, and make sure that if we're missing data or whatever's going on, we fill in the gap before we release. But that time waiting is so crucial for us. So their goal was to say, hey, can we use Celonis to uncover when these situations happen, but also take action, right? That was really what helped us convert from proof of concept into an actual funded project that's happening right now, because we said, we're not just going to give you the dashboards and have you go take action yourself. We're going to pass off to a digital worker to go release these blocks, go release these credit checks, because a lot of the work they were doing was just very repetitive. A lot of it was unnecessary. A lot of the steps were just routine. It was one field maybe missing so that the order couldn't go through. But again, waiting days and days because of one single field. So now we're building this with our stakeholder in Europe right now. We're going to be codifying some of those patterns into our action flows so we can pass off to bots. And where it gets more complicated, this is not every single delivery block or credit hold, but we'll pass off to the actual human CSR teams to go and deal with. But again, the ability to kind of trigger and say, hey, this is waiting, go take a look at this, even if we can't automate it, has been so crucial. One other comment as well to say, after our proof of concept, and this was not even intentional, again, we were just saying, hey, what can we do with Celonis? I'm not here to sell automation, I'm here to kind of scale Celonis and process mining here at Mars, but we found almost 10 Automation Anywhere RPA opportunities just from initially looking. And that's, again, just back in that point before, it's almost an unintended consequence of casting a wide net and exposing your process data to say, hey, they had no idea these 9 or 10 opportunities even exist. And now we're doing this project in parallel. My colleagues in the Intelligent Automation Hub are running 9 different initiatives for 9 new bots because we did this, right? So it's a great feeder for new demand here. And then lastly, I just want to focus on the right-hand side here. So again, the point on telling a broader story of the downstream impact and how you can really use that to sell and build your business case, right? Again, we're doing this and we're going to save some time, right? These blocks will get released anyway, but we're going to save some time. Celonis is going to help us detect. We're going to pass off to a bot to deal with it. At no point did we talk about hours saved. The whole conversation was, because we could do that, we could reduce our overall order cycle time, we could improve our working capital position, and we can reduce our late delivery penalties with certain customers, right? And the big one there is really working capital. I'll give an example. For one, we started our proof of concepts within Iberia. So we started within Spain and Portugal. And we proved with this tool that we could, with this solution rather, we could improve that overall cycle time by almost a day. A single day from order intake to products at the customer facility is an absolutely huge impact on working capital. So again, now that helped us to say, hey, let's do this for the whole region. And we had a call to say, hey, who wants to sign up for this? And everyone's hand raised. We're doing it for every single cluster in Europe now. So again, it's very, very transformative. The power of, if we didn't have automation, we would be relying on the teams to do this themselves. Now they can back up and say, hey, straight through processing. That's the beauty of this.